Imagine this. You're walking through, let's say, a busy street in an Indian city. Could be anywhere, somewhere you visited, maybe even where you live. And you see a young student, full of dreams, passionately protesting. They believe a policy is deeply unfair. Their sign is up, their voice is loud. Then suddenly, you hear the sirens. The authorities arrive. And just like that, the student is gone, whisked away. And it's under a law that was originally meant to fight terrorism. Months pass, maybe years. They're in jail. Not convicted, mind you,
Yeah.
not found guilty. But the system itself, it allows this. Bail denied, trials delayed indefinitely. This isn't some story we've made up. It's a stark reality playing out across India today. So today, we're doing a deep dive into something really fundamental for any democracy. We're looking at the rule of law versus rule by law. That's a critical distinction. And it affects every single one of us, that student, you listening, the very fabric of our society.
Yeah. And what's really fascinating, or maybe worrying, is how this shift isn't always obvious. It's not like a switch flips overnight. It's subtle, but it's profound. Legal tools, things designed as shields for justice, they slowly morph into instruments of power. Our job today really is to peel back those layers, try to understand this tightrope India seems to be walking, and grasp what it all means.
Okay, let's try and break this down. Maybe an analogy helps. Think of the rule of law, like a totally fair referee in a huge cricket match. Super high stakes. This ref makes sure the game is played by the rules, and those rules apply equally to everyone. The star batsman, the rookie bowler, even the umpire themselves. Nobody, absolutely nobody is above the rules. That's the ideal, right? It protects our fundamental rights, guarantees fair trials, enshrines innocent until proven guilty. It's basically the Constitution's promise that power comes from the people.
And connecting that to the bigger picture, the rule of law is essentially the bedrock of a just society. It has to be. It's all about accountability, transparency, and this core belief that laws are there to serve and protect all citizens, not just some.
Right. Now, imagine that same referee suddenly starts, openly favoring one team, ignoring fouls, calling penalties unfairly. That's kind of what rule by law feels like. The laws might still be written down, they might technically exist, but they get twisted, manipulated, weaponized even, used to serve those in power. It's like using a hammer not to build something, but to smash dissent.
And historically, this isn't exactly new territory. We've seen it play out time and again. Think ancient Rome, emperors like Nero using laws to get rid of rivals. Or the 20th century, Nazi Germany is a chilling example, the Enabling Act of 1933. It gave Hitler absolute power, all under a legal pretense. Closer to home, even during the British Raj, the Rowlatt Act of 1919 allowed detention without trial for freedom fighters. That led directly to awful events like the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. These aren't just footnotes in history books. They're really critical warnings about what happens when the law becomes a tool for the powerful.
Now, in independent India, we've always prided ourselves on upholding the rule of law. It's right there, deeply embedded in our Constitution since 1950. The Supreme Court even declared it part of the basic structure, something that just cannot be altered or tinkered with. It's fundamental. But lately we've seen some cracks appearing in that foundation.
Yes, and what's particularly concerning is how certain laws originally designed for very legitimate threats, think terrorism, financial crime, are now being used like incredibly wide nets. They seem to be catching not just those genuinely involved in wrongdoing, but often, anyone who dares to challenge the status quo, the prevailing power structure.
Two laws really stand out here. The Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, or UAPA, from 1967, and the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, PMLA, from 2002. Now, it's important to remember they weren't created in a vacuum or with bad intent, necessarily. UAPA came about after the '62 Indochina War to tackle separatist movements, and PMLA, that was in the early 2000s, largely due to global pressure to crack down on black money and money laundering.
But, and this is a big but, crucial amendments over the years have really sharpened their teeth, made them much more potent. UAPA, amended in 2019, made getting bail significantly harder, like incredibly difficult. PMLA, also amended around 2019, massively expanded the powers of the Enforcement Directorate, the ED. So it raises this really important question. When do necessary legal tools cross the line and become instruments of overreach? When does protection turn into suppression?
Yeah, put yourself in someone's shoes for a second. Maybe you're a journalist digging into corruption, or a farmer protesting policies that affect your life, or even just a student debating ideas online. Suddenly, you could be branded a terrorist under UAPA, and under that label, bail becomes the rare exception, not the rule. It flips the whole principle.
And the data, the numbers really tell a story here. Between 2016 and 2019, only about 2.2% of UAPA cases ended in a conviction. Just over 2%. Yet thousands, literally thousands, have spent long periods in jail waiting. That's not really justice, is it? It feels more like punishment by process. Human rights groups like Amnesty International, they've consistently pointed out how these laws seem to disproportionately target critics, journalists, minority groups. It chips away at free speech. Just this year, 2024, reports showed UAPA cases against journalists in Kashmir spiked by 40%. That's a huge jump.
Let's make this more concrete. Statistics are one thing, but stories. Stories connect. Think about Umar Khalid. He's a former JNU student known for his speeches on equality, arrested back in September 2020 under UAPA, accused of inciting the Delhi riots. He's now spent over 4 years in Tihar jail. His trial hasn't even begun, and his bail pleas denied, again and again. The High Court reserved judgment on his latest one, pushing it out to July 2025. 4 years, and still waiting.
And it's not an isolated case. Sharjeel Imam, another young Muslim activist, very similar situation, jailed since 2020 for speeches during the anti-CAA protests. His case got woven into this larger conspiracy narrative. What's deeply concerning is these aren't people with long criminal records. They are voices of dissent. And they're effectively silenced by a law that basically reverses our constitutional promise. It forces the accused to prove their innocence just to get bail. That's an enormous burden.
And it's not just students and activists feeling this heat. Opposition political leaders have increasingly found themselves caught in this legal net, too. It's turning politics into, well, a very risky game. Look at Arvind Kejriwal, Delhi's chief minister, leader of AAP. Arrested March 2024 under PMLA in connection with an excise policy case. He spent months in custody, got interim bail, then faced rearrest. His deputies, Manish Sisodia, Satyendra Jain, they went through similar ordeals. Sisodia was jailed for over 17 months before finally getting bail in August 2024.
We also saw the former chief minister of Jharkhand, Hemant Soren, arrested January 2024, PMLA charges related to a land scam. He finally got bail in June after months behind bars. Farooq Abdullah, the veteran leader from Kashmir, faced ED probes in the JKCA scam. Though it's worth noting, the High Court did quash the PMLA charges against him this year, 2024. Yep. And even now, in Karnataka, the current CM Siddaramaiah is reportedly under ED scrutiny for a land allotment case. All of this fuels cries from the opposition about political vendettas.
And here's where it gets, well, almost ironic. Critics point out pretty forcefully that these powerful laws seem to come down hard on opposition figures. But strangely, they seem to spare those aligned with the ruling party, the BJP. Since 2014, when the BJP came to power nationally, can you name a single central minister or a BJP chief minister who's faced similar prolonged action under UAPA or PMLA? It's hard to find examples.
Which raises that very pointed question. Why does it sometimes look like legal troubles just fade away when an accused individual switches political sides? Remember the Maharashtra political drama in 2022? Eknath Shinde's faction of the Shiv Sena, they are facing corruption probes. Then they allied with the BJP, formed the government, and suddenly things went quiet on the investigation front. Then in 2023, Ajit Pawar splits the NCP, joins the BJP-led coalition in Maharashtra. He also had ongoing ED cases against him. And, well, those investigations seem to slow right down. It almost feels like, join the winning team and maybe your legal problems get less urgent. It definitely gives that impression.
This pattern, you can't help but notice it. It sparks really serious concerns about selective enforcement. Is the law being applied equally? The Congress Party, for instance, flat out accuses the Modi government of using UAPA and PMLA to muzzle dissent. They point to that low conviction rate again, over 8,700 UAPA cases between 2014 and 2022, but only 2.55% convictions. Human Rights Watch also noted raids on media outlets like the BBC in 2023, where you saw UAPA allegations mixed with tax investigations. It suggests a pattern. And we see echoes elsewhere, don't we? Turkey under Erdogan using anti-terror laws against journalists. Hungary, Viktor Orban's rule-by-law strategy to consolidate power. It's a playbook we've seen. Okay, let's fast forward right up to the present. Very recently, August 20th, 2025, Home Minister Amit Shah introduced some significant bills in the Lok Sabha. The Constitution, 130th Amendment Bill, and some related measures. This could be a major development in this whole story.
Absolutely. So what do these bills propose? The headline item is the automatic removal of a prime minister, a chief minister, or any minister if they are detained for more than 30 days for an offense that carries a potential sentence of over 5 years. And here's the kicker. No conviction is needed, just detention for 30 days. The bills also propose getting rid of the need for prior sanction to prosecute certain officials. That's a layer of protection that usually requires government permission before charges are filed. Removing that could effectively give governors who are appointed by the central government, remember, significant power to trigger dismissals.
Now, the government side champions these as vital anti-corruption measures, necessary steps for cleaner governance, but opponents, they're up in arms. They argue this completely tramples on innocent until proven guilty, and they say it seriously undermines federalism, the balance of power between the center and states. And federalism, as we mentioned, the Supreme Court has called that a basic unalterable feature of the Constitution. So a huge clash of principles here.
The potential implications are massive. Just imagine a governor potentially acting on behalf of the central government, having the power to remove an opposition chief minister based purely on allegations, purely on detention, not conviction. In India's federal setup, where states value their autonomy, this could really destabilize state governments without voters having any say through elections. Yes, the bills apparently allow for reappointment if the person is released, but you could end up with this constant revolving door scenario. Instability, uncertainty.
And then there's the politics of it all. Passing these constitutional amendments needs a two-thirds majority in parliament. The ruling NDA currently has 293 seats in the Lok Sabha. They need 362 for that majority. So they're short. It's not guaranteed to pass. But even introducing them creates a powerful narrative, doesn't it? The government looks like it's fighting crime, fighting corruption. And anyone opposing it, well, they can be painted as defending the corrupt. The timing is also interesting. Right before the Bihar Assembly polls in 2025, where the opposition India bloc seems to be finding some unity and Rahul Gandhi is quite active. Could it be a way to shift the focus from issues like jobs or caste dynamics? It's certainly possible. So at the end of the day, how does all of this actually affect you, the listener, the ordinary citizen? Well, if laws become tools primarily used to target dissent, then free speech naturally gets chilled. People become afraid to speak out. Fewer protests, less public debate. It might mean that genuine grievances, whether it's about rising prices, unemployment, local issues, they just don't get addressed. They get ignored.
And linking back to the bigger picture, that erosion of federalism we talked about, it leads to more centralized power. That can mean regional needs get overlooked. A one-size-fits-all policy rarely works in a country as diverse as India. Economically, too, investors get nervous in a rule-by-law environment. It feels unpredictable, unfair. The World Justice Project already ranks India 79th globally on its Rule of Law Index. That's a slip. It's kind of like, imagine a family where one uncle makes strict rules but only enforces them against his cousins, never his own kids. Resentment builds, trust breaks down, it affects the whole system.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just briefly come back to Raj, that fictional student we started with. His story, unfortunately, isn't really fictional. It echoes thousands of real lives across India caught in this complex web. Democracy, it's not something you just watch. It's more like a relay race, isn't it? Each of us has to carry that baton of justice. If our laws stop being shields that protect us and instead become chains used for suppression, we risk sliding towards something. Well, something that looks like dictatorship, even if it's dressed up as simple law and order.
But look, India has shown resilience before, many times. Remember the emergency in 1975 under Indira Gandhi? There was massive overreach then, rights were suspended. But what happened? The voters themselves removed her from power in 1977. They asserted their will. There's wisdom in the ancient Upanishads too. Law is the king of kings. It's supposed to be more powerful than any ruler. And globally, you see examples. Poland's solidarity movement in the 80s pushed back against a rule-by-law regime. Citizen action can be incredibly powerful.
And here in India, that power rests with civil society, with a judiciary that hopefully stays vigilant, and with active, informed citizens. Pushing back can happen through petitions, through raising awareness, through journalism, and maybe most powerfully, by voting wisely with vision. So maybe the final question is for you, listening right now. What's your next move? Stay informed. Question things boldly. Because in this grand theater of India, the audience you really do hold the power to demand and uphold the true rule